Okay, welcome back. I am excited about this episode because what I'm working towards now, after putting in a new floor pan, putting in the inner sill in this outer floor panel, this outer footwell panel, now we're getting to the point where we're actually getting ready to put on some body parts that are the finished parts, not interior parts, but exterior parts. So I'm gonna have to make sure, I gotta take some time to make sure I get everything lined up right. I'm gonna have to put the door on, the fender on, all those things to make sure that it's lining up right. I want the gaps to be good, and I want it to look right. So it's gonna take me some time to do that, but I'm excited about moving into that stage of this rebuild. Now that I have the panel clamped in where I want it to be, there's a couple of things I can look at to make sure that the alignment's right. One of them is right here. See, I actually slid the panel behind this piece because I want the sill to be completely flat and in line. The other place that I'm looking at is right here. So you can see where that bump out is. I checked on the other side, and that seems to be about the same distance. I'm looking at how it matches up along this edge, and also the holes for where the fenders or the wings get bolted on. One of the things I checked was, or I had to work on, was flattening this piece out to be able to lift the sill up as far as it'll go. So those are some of the alignment things. Let me show you one more. I was messaging back and forth with my friend Jim. You would have met him in episode 14 if you've watched that episode. And one of the things he reminded me was that this sill is perpendicular to the A-pillar. I mean, now my A-pillar is not in there, but it will run along the edge of this outer footwell panel. So I can take a square and make sure that it is 90 degrees, which it is. So that outer sill is 90 degrees to the outer panel, so that when I attach the A-pillar on there, as long as I line it up, it should be perpendicular and at the right angle too. So I feel like where this is clamped in is where it should be. Obviously, once I know that I've got it where it's supposed to be clamped in so that it fits right, I'm gonna need to go through and prep everything, including drilling all the holes for where it's gonna get plug welded. But before I do that, the one last thing I wanna do is go ahead and put the fender back on to make sure it lines up, because this inner sill could move down maybe an 1/8 of an inch. I'm not sure it matters, but just to be safe, I want to put the fender on and make sure the alignment's good. If it is, and I've measured the length of the door top to bottom and just looked at the measurement from the top of the sill to where the door would be, and I just used a straight edge and laid it on top there, and the distance seems to be right. So I'm not going to worry about the door gaps as long as I have got this sill lined up with the top part of the outer sill lined up with the top part of the inner sill. I didn't really bolt the wing or the fender on there. It actually just sits on, and I used the big magnet to kind of hold it in place. The gap will get adjusted a little bit, but I think it's close enough. I think it looks good. And the other thing I'm looking for is, does this line up? And based on where this is and the gap at the top, I think the outer footwell lines up well in that spot. So taking all those things in consideration, I think we're ready to prep it and be ready to weld it in. So after stripping all the primer off of it and going ahead and cutting all the holes that I needed to do the plug welds and then respraying it with primer, I've already got it in place, and I've gone ahead and welded the top part of the outer sill. And now I'm going to work on clamping down the bottom part and going through and welding that. Okay, I finished plug welding the bottom part of this outer sill. And I have to say, after 50 plus plug welds, I feel like I've definitely improved and perfected my plug welding. Over time, if you do that many welds, you're going to finally end up getting it right, which I feel like I did closer to the end. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these up and figure out what my next steps are from there. I've gone along and ground all those plug welds down flat. I'm gonna go ahead and spray a primer on them just to seal them off and keep them from rusting, because it's probably gonna be a while before the car actually gets painted. I need to roll the car over so I can do the plug welds on the top and do the same for them. All right, so I went ahead and cleaned up the welds on the top part of this outer sill and sprayed some primer on it. And it's in. It's good to go. It's the first exterior piece, so that is awesome. The next step is to get this A-pillar in, the inner part of it, because that'll actually give me hinges to put the door back on, and then the outer skin of it. So for now on this side, that's going to be the next thing, is going after that A-pillar.